Buenas nuevas va mi pueblo, el que quiera oír que oiga, el que quiera ver que vea.
And liberation theology means reflecting on Christian faith from the standpoint of the poor, right? It means especially entering into the world of the poor, which is an experience that is transformative, right? You know, like you enter into a barrio here, barrio popular, right? Well, if you're going to really enter in there, then that barrio really enters into you, and it forces you to really think and change your outlook on things. You begin to kind of put on new lenses, you know. And the idea of liberation theologians was the world looks different from the standpoint of the poor. The world looks different from the standpoint of the victims. Yeah, and they came in the back of the residence and dragged the Jesuits out, threw them on the ground. The Jesuits came out willingly. Yeah. They told them, look, we'll open the door and everything. And they did. They came up on both sides of the building, kind of a pincer operation. They'd been told, these were, guerrilla leaders and all. And they tried to simulate resistance and an attack, that they had fallen in combat, and then they were going to pin it on the FMLN. That these were traitors of the FMLN, that they were always talking about negotiations and peace. And so they, were killed by the FMLN. And so they simulated a battle out front. They set up an RPG. They set up an RPG rocket. They had an M60 machine gun. There were over 200 shells that were out in the street the next morning. And you can see in our little room for the martyrs down here pictures of the destruction that they caused to the building next door, which is where we were all working, until 1993.
Unidos, querido pueblo, todos digamos que no, no a la pena de muerte, no a la dolarización. Es una burla lo que hacen, querer quitar el color. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación. Mi patria es muy pequeñita, cualquiera abusa y no más. Contaminan nuestros mares con la basura de allá. Montaña está muy alta, temo la gran explosión. Soberanía y cultura, derecho de mi nación. Soberanía y cultura, derecho de mi nación. Unidos, querido pueblo, todos digamos que no, no a la pena de muerte, no a la dolarización. Es una burla lo que hacen, querer quitar el color. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación.
Aquí nos falta trabajo, la vida quieren quitar, deshumanizan la vida y quieren dolarizar.
Sangrando está nuestro pueblo, la justicia se escondió, violando la ley divina, la vida quieren privar, violando la ley divina, la vida quieren quitar. Unidos, querido pueblo, todos digamos que no, no a la pena de muerte, no a la dolarización. Es una burla lo que hacen, querer quitar el color. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación. Basura y dólar nos traen, desgracia pa' mi nación. Es la verdad que llega al aire, es la
represents an important change. When Mauricio Funes was elected, he promised to look for reconciliation, and one of the things he did was at the 20th anniversary of the killings here, which was in November of 2009, so just over a year ago, he invited all of these people, including ourselves, the Jesuits, to the Casa Presidencial, and gave the nation's highest award posthumously to the Jesuits.
Oh, wow.
And apologized, for the state's involvement in their killing. And then he did the same at the anniversary of the peace accords. And then he did the same when Archbishop Romero's anniversary took place, last year on March 24th. Apologized for the role of the state in the murder of Archbishop Romero.
Traigo mi canto, también cuentas con mi voz, despertando la conciencia de toda la población. Aquí se mueren los niños, la vida perdió el valor, nos rodea la miseria por tanta explotación. Caminando por la calle hay muchos rostros de niños, los pies están descalzos, sus manos están vacías, la conciencia se ha dormido, la tengo que despertar. No llega la indiferencia, con esto no hay que jugar. No llega la indiferencia, con esto no hay que jugar. Aquí te traigo mi canto, también cuentas con mi voz, despertando la conciencia de toda la población. Aquí se mueren los niños, la vida perdió el valor, nos rodea la miseria por tanta explotación. Hoy somos más pobres todos, seguro que lo creerás. Aquí nos falta trabajo, comida, techo y paz. Los pobres obreros todos mueren por explotación. Su vida hoy es más corta y no es lo que quiere Dios. Su vida hoy es más corta y no es lo que quiere Dios. Aquí te traigo mi canto, también cuentas con mi voz, despertando la conciencia de toda la población. Aquí se mueren los niños, la vida perdió el valor, nos rodea la miseria por tanta explotación.
But it's symbolic. See, we pursue this as, what we call, I don't know if the same is true in Canada, but in the U.S., a class action suit.
Yeah.
Which means that, the Jesuits, we continue to pursue the truth here because it throws light on all the other killings of people who can't raise their voice. Their relatives can't raise, they're too poor, they don't have, the means that we have, or the international connections.
Yeah.
But the idea is for people to recognize that the government here was practicing murder of civilians, really a form of terrorism.
Yeah.
And nobody says that in the news, Now there are people who recognize that and know it, but we don't want people to go to jail. We don't want people, to be punished and all. But we do want the truth to come out and that there be a state decision on what happened and people be convicted. And then we've said we will be the first ones to ask for pardon for them, so they don't have to go to jail.